Sonic Frontiers is the newest mainline game in the overall Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Released on November 8, 2022, Frontiers takes the series in a new direction, emphasizing on exploration akin to Zelda Breath of the Wild. In fact, this preview image here invokes Breath of the Wild. It had to be deliberate. Sonic Team hasn't abandoned what made Sonic Sonic. So for those who aren't sold on an open world Sonic game, or open zone as it's also called, there are these gates that'll take Sonic to cyberspace, and it is there people will find that familiar boost gameplay, even if the stages once again are rehashes of past levels like Green Hill. General reception has been overall positive based on people playing the demos leading up to its release. And of course, I pre-ordered and downloaded a copy for myself. With that said, today, I will not be talking about the game. Instead, I will be talking about the prequel stories leading up to the game's release. The Sonic Frontiers comic Convergence, and the Sonic Frontiers animated short Divergence. Cross-media promotion for the games is nothing new for Sonic. Sega has been doing this sort of thing from the beginning, mainly through comics, or in recent years, animated shorts on YouTube. This method has always been a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you want to get the word out to as many people as possible regarding your product. On the other hand, not everyone may have access to that particular piece of media, and they think they are missing out on key pieces of story information. Sonic games, when it comes to story, vary in terms of quality, but still, it would be nice to have as much story context in-game as possible. It's not much of a problem these days thanks to the internet. Back to the Sonic Frontiers prequels. Because we're dealing with material related to the newest Sonic game, spoilers will be very, very high. You have been warned, though I will keep spoilers for the actual game to a bare minimum. Alright, let's do this. Sonic Frontiers Prologue Convergence is a two-part comic totaling 8 pages. Surprisingly, the story is not published by IDW Publishing, the company that currently has the rights to publish Sonic comics. Instead, similar to Sonic Forces 5 years earlier, it's a free comic that you can find on the official Sonic Frontiers website. Plus, numerous Sonic news sites and videos have covered the thing. I'm just adding my voice to the pile. Like the Sonic Forces prequel comics, established comic talent was utilized here. In this case, we have Ian Flynn writing the story, and Evan Stanley on board to do the art. The former is especially poignant since he worked on the English script of the actual game.
Sonic, are you alright?
Me? You're the one who's only half here.
I feel fine, but that energy that was holding me prisoner went into you.
I've been infused with weird zappy stuff before. Besides, I feel like it gave me some kind of boost.
Guy's come a long way since being thrusted into the main writer position on Archie Sonic around issue 160. So let's go ahead and take a look at the story, which starts with Sonic and Tails approaching an island Amy's said to meet them at. Only they spot Amy under attack by Eggman and his badniks. So far, she seems to be holding her own. Eggman's defeat is hastened once Sonic and Tails join the fray, especially since Tails uses a wrench to remove one of the mech's arms. During all this, Eggman quotes some very familiar lines.
Get a load of this! No way! I can't believe this! All systems, full power! Time for a change of pace!
For the record, I did hear the voices of Dean Bristow or Mike Pollock when I read them. Even Sonic is able to recognize the lines. There's a reason for this. Once the trio defeats the mech, it's soon discovered that Eggman is actually a robotic decoy. Oh, and for good measure, one more quote.
See if you can make it through here, Sonic!
Tails realizes that this is part of a bigger plan, that Eggman's trying to distract them so they wouldn't follow him to the Starfall Islands. Amy asks what this is all about, and Tails explains to her, and us conveniently, that a long-lost civilization once lived on these mysterious islands, and recently, the Chaos Emeralds started gathering there. That, plus Eggman heading there himself, is all the reason they need for our trio to head there themselves. We cut to Eggman's flying saucer landing on Kronos Island, the first of the Starfall Islands. The artificial intelligence on board informs Eggman that assets and supplies have been deployed and distributed. AKA, here's why there are a bunch of breakable crates and capsules on the island. Before he can explore the island to acquire the long-lost ancient tech for himself, Orbot and Cubot contact him about Sonic and company destroying his decoy robot. Oh, I see what you did there with the lettering. Clever. He wonders why it took them so long to tell him about it, and Orbot claims there were technical difficulties. In reality, Orbot and Cubot deliberately delayed things as they were playing a board game, something the AI pointed out to Eggman. Frustrated with his minions, Eggman hopes that the ancient technology he discovers, and takes for himself, will allow him to craft a creation that he can be proud of. First, he has to deal with Sonic since he's on his way. Eggman plans to speed up the operation, despite the AI warning him that its integration systems are untested and it's not wise to accelerate things. Eggman doesn't care. He doesn't want Sonic to ruin his plans this time. Besides, he created the AI specifically to protect Eggman. We end the comic with him downloading the AI into a portable module and bringing it to a cyberspace gate. He hopes that once the AI is uploaded, it'll quickly make work of the ancient security, and all that technology will be his. I'm sure nothing will go wrong here. Convergence is an apt title for this comic. Sonic and Tails meet up with Amy, and all three gang up on the decoy mech. The Chaos Emeralds are being drawn to Starfall Islands, and all our characters are heading that way now. The comic gives off a similar vibe to the Sonic Lost World comic prequel. Not surprising since Ian wrote both. It features a lost piece of land that Eggman discovers before the heroes do, and tries to exploit it for his own gains using the local assets, whether it be the Zeti or ancient technology. And the prequel stories end just when the actual game begins. Let's discuss Eggman's decision to rush his Starfall Island plans in order to prevent Sonic from stopping him this time. Generally, it's a bad sign when the advanced AI does not recommend accelerating the untested integration process. Now, I could be wrong since I just started Sonic Frontiers, but it seems we're heading into another case of Eggman losing control of the situation, just like in Sonic Lost World and other previous games. It's par for the course for Eggman at this point. Finds some ancient thing, tries to take it as his own, and at some point loses control of the situation. There have been exceptions, of course, but more often than not, things tend to go foobar because of him. And yet, at least to me, he still has some charm. Let's just hope that in a rush to beat Sonic, he doesn't screw things over too much. As far as its status as a prequel comic, it does its job. Sort of. It tells the reader what they need to know when it comes to the backstory of the game, though it is not mentioned how they came across information about Starfall Islands in the first place. I'm going to guess ancient tablets. That'll be my go-to answer for discovering ancient pieces of land they never heard of until now. The tone of the comic is lighthearted and fun. A lot of it comes from the playful banter between Sonic, Tails, and Amy, the reveal that Orbot and Cubot were goofing off, and the callbacks to previous games. The prime example being the decoy robot. Besides spouting catchphrases from previous Eggman fights, the decoy reminded me of the robotic duplicate from Sonic Heroes. Although in that case, it's actually Neo Metal Sonic in disguise, trying to acquire as much DNA as possible from our characters. Also, I think the decoy is a friendly jab at all the times Eggman's recited certain phrases before doing an attack during boss fights. To me, I believe the comic has to be lighthearted because, based on preview videos, things are going to get dark, as seen by Sonic's friends getting imprisoned. That includes Knuckles, yet we don't see him with Sonic's friends, or anywhere else in the comic. So how did he get involved in all this? Sonic Frontiers Divergence is an animated prequel focusing on Knuckles the Echidna. As I said earlier, animated shorts are a relatively new way to promote a game. I'm not talking about trailers and in-game intros and cutscenes. I mean full-on stories that promote a game like Team Sonic Racing's Overdrive and Sonic Colors' Rise of the Wisps. Now it's Sonic Frontiers' turn. Divergence is directed by Tyson Hayes, who was involved in numerous Sonic works in the past several years, including directing the aforementioned Overdrive and Rise of the Wisps shorts, working on animation for games like Sonic Mania, and most importantly, was key in redesigning Movie Sonic. Since this is another story tied to Frontiers, it shouldn't be a surprise that Ian Flynn also wrote this one. Evan Stanley's also involved, though this time as a creative consultant. And who can forget the musical talent of T. Lopes? That's enough of the behind the scenes stuff for now. Let's go on and discuss Sonic Frontiers Divergence, starring Knuckles the Echidna. We begin with Knuckles at the Master Emerald Shrine as he's narrating who he is and his purpose as guardian of Angel Island. Longtime Sonic fans should know this already, but I think it's for the benefit of not only newcomers, but to re-establish what Knuckles actually does in the Sonic lore. He goes on to narrate how he doesn't need anyone else to do his job, and wonders why he must guard the island and the Master Emerald. This is starting to feel reminiscent of the opening to the Knuckles playthrough in Sonic Adventure. I think that was intentional. To hammer in the SA1 connection further, Knuckles recounts the moment Pachacamac's group tried to steal the Master Emerald and Tikal's failure to stop them. You know what happens next.
Oh, it's a monster! No!
Knuckles believes his duty is considered karma for that act. This leads to him wondering, whose power was this originally? Why did they build a shrine to the emeralds? And what happened to them? Knuckles soon spots a familiar ball of light, I assume it's Tikal, and he follows it. The next time we see him, he's teleported to Sky Sanctuary. So I assume Tikal led him there. I do like how the Sanctuary was revealed in the background as Knuckles walks off camera. As he goes through Sky Sanctuary, he mentions that even though he's explored Angel Island top to bottom, he still keeps finding things like new routes, remains of old Echidna tribes, and even other older civilizations. I'm also surprised, though I shouldn't be, that there are Chow on the island. Knuckles comes across one trying to pull what looks like a mask from underneath some rubble. He helps out by punching the debris away, and gives it the mask. Although, that mask looks awfully like a Coco's face, the cute critters of Starfall Islands. And I just realized, did Knuckles just give the corpse of one to the Chow? Anyway, underneath the Coco mask was a cyber gear. Knuckles grabs it and heads inside the structure he just opened up. There, he finds something older than even the Sky Sanctuary ruins, one of the ancient cyberspace gates. Knuckles puts the gear in, and the gate activates, teleporting him to Starfall Islands. After arriving, Knuckles thinks Eggman's behind all this, and calls him to come out. Instead, soldier enemies appear. Knuckles takes care of them no problem. He demands the ones responsible show themselves so he can face them in a fair fight, and if he wins, he'd be sent home. Cue the arrival of Sage, accompanied by the boss enemy known as Ashura or Ashura. What I like about this confrontation is the screen is constantly glitching, as if their presence is affecting all of reality. Knuckles is blinded by a light, and as soon as he comes to, he finds himself imprisoned on Starfall's Ares Island. As he angrily screams, the short ends with him once again narrating that he prefers to do things on his own. Though his last words, but sometimes, imply that, yeah, he could use some help from time to time. I have to say, this is the best looking animated Sonic short ever. You can thank the appropriately named Powerhouse Animation Studios for that. Personally, I want to see more Sonic shorts, if not a Sonic series done in this style. No offense to Sonic Prime, but there's something charming about 2D animation in general. When you get down to it, the story is basically the daily life of Knuckles, patrolling Angel Island and making sure everything and everyone who's supposed to be on it is alright. It's only when he stumbles upon one of the island's secrets that he gets roped into the events of the game, diverging from his normal routine as it were. This is a much better way to bring Knuckles into a game, compared to some of the previous outings. Most important of all, there's Starfall Island technology on Angel Island. Before we dive into this a little further, Ian Flynn said Angel Island maintains its origins from Sonic Adventure, that it was once part of the Mystic Ruins. To go on a brief tangent, it's interesting that they retconned the Master Emerald Shrine to be surrounded by water, instead of just being on its own mini island. Was it always the idea, and the Dreamcast graphics couldn't display the water properly? Or was it Sega adding the water to bring some sort of logic to this floating island? You decide. Anyway, back to connecting Angel Island's history to Starfall's. Who's to say the Echidna tribe was the only inhabitants there for a time? Knuckles did say he found evidence of older civilizations on the island. Perhaps the ancients were either exploring the world or colonizing certain areas and used cyberspace gates for quick travel. Could they be the ones that built Sky Sanctuary? The gate Knuckles used to get to Starfall Islands was among its ruins. And is there a connection between them and the Master Emeralds slash Chaos Emeralds? After all, it was that power the Echidna tribe wanted before Perfect Chaos wiped them out. Plus, it was established in the Convergence comic that the Chaos Emeralds were being drawn to the Starfall Islands. I doubt anything will come of this in-game or otherwise, and as of this writing, I haven't gotten far into the game myself, and I'm actively trying to avoid spoilers. So maybe there are some surprises yet to come. Even if it's not followed up, it's still something to speculate. Besides, the main focus of Divergence, again, is Knuckles. He seems to have gotten his dignity back after being a goofball in previous games. I'm not counting Sonic Boom since it's a different continuity. While the writing is a big part of it, credit should also go to David B. Mitchell's performance. Here, Knuckles is diligent, caring, and resourceful in combat, and the only reason he lost was due to factors beyond his control. One more thing I'd like to say is this little bit with the Chow and the, Coco mask. Is this a sole way that these two species are linked? Is this a morbid way of passing the cute critter baton between the two species? Like the ancients possibly visiting other places, I doubt this will get answered. Sonic Frontiers Divergence is a short you have to watch if you're a fan of Knuckles and or Sonic lore in general. Even if you're not, watch it anyway for the gorgeous animation, and if you've already watched it, watch it again. We need to send Sega a message that we need more of this kind of animation. So that's it for the prequel materials. Hopefully you'll have the full context of the situation if you decide to pick up Sonic Frontiers, or if you're planning to watch someone else's playthrough online. As for me, I'll just be playing the game at my own pace and enjoying the ride. Except for when I'm attempting to S-rank certain cyber stages. I'm looking at you, 1-2. With that said, have a good day everyone.